Hare Krishna, everybody. Welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books here in the live studios at Wisteria Cottage, or College, whichever way you want to call it now. I'm sitting here with close family, Shamagori, the wife of Priya Kund, who normally takes care of us, but is now up in He's in Liverpool taking care of the funeral arrangements of his brother who has passed away. We can all send our condolences to him. And his mother who has lost her son, so he's up there taking care of them due to his service attitude, which I've experienced close up, is as good a service attitude as anybody has on this planet. Bhakti-Sat is, helping to fill in and do things to help to serve Priya Kund and the devotees, and our Abai, who's taking care of me, and that's really that's a heavy burden. Anyway, so welcome to you all out there in cyberspace, wherever you are. We hope you're having a nice beginning of a holiday season and a Prabhupada marathon spirit to get these books out there and try to touch people when their hearts are a little bit more soft and willing to reciprocate. So, Srila Sanatana Goswami compiled this Srimad-Bhagavatam Mahima Stotram, the glories of Srimad-Bhagavatam, to give us deeper insight into the Bhagavatam, what it is, and why we should be hearing it regularly and associating with Krishna through this transcendental sound. So it goes like this: Sarva Shastra Dipiyusha, Sarva Vedaika Satpala, Sarva Siddhanta Ratnadya, Sarva Lokaika Drikprada. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana, Srimad Bhagavata Prabho, Kalidvandodita Aditya, Sri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master, Srimad Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Sri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya Premavarshakshadayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Sri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you, who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Sri Krishna himself. Madeka Bando Matsangin Madguro Man Mahadana Manistadaga Mad Bhagya Mad Ananda Namostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asadu Saduta Dayin Atini Chochata Kada Hanamun Chagadachin Mam Premnarit Kantayospura. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. All right. We've reached the 59th chapter of the 10th canto of Srimad-Bhagavatam. Krishna is continuing to execute his mission on the earth which in the Bhagavad Gita he declares himself to be protecting devotees and eliminating demons. So this chapter is entitled The Killing of the Demon Naraka. This chapter tells how Lord Krishna killed Narakasura, the son of the earth goddess, and married the thousands of maidens the demon had kidnapped. It also describes how the Lord stole the Parijata tree from heaven and how he behaved like an ordinary householder in each of his palaces. After Narakasura stole Lord Varuna's umbrella, Mother Aditi's earrings, and the playground of the demigods known as Mani-Parvata, Indra went to Dwarka and described the demon's transgressions to Lord Krishna. Together with Queen Satyabhama, the Lord mounted his carrier Garuda and traveled to the capital of Narakasura's kingdom. On a field outside the city, he decapitated the demon Mura with his disc. He then fought Mura's 7 sons and sent them all to the abode of death, after which Narakasura himself entered the battlefield on the back of an elephant. Naraka threw his Shakti lance at Sri Krishna, but the weapon proved ineffective, and the Lord cut the demon's entire army to pieces. Finally, with his sharp-edged disc, Krishna cut off Narakasura's head. The earth goddess Prithivi then approached Lord Krishna and gave him the various items Narakasura had stolen. She offered prayers to the Lord and presented Naraka's frightened son at Lord Krishna's lotus feet. After pacifying the demon's son, Krishna entered Narakasura's palace, where he found 16,100 young women. As soon as they caught sight of the Lord, they all decided to accept him as their husband. The Lord sent them to Dwarka, along with a great quantity of treasure, and then went with Queen Satyabhama to the abode of Indra. There he returned Aditi's earrings, and Indra and his wife Shachidevi worshipped him. On Satyabhama's request, Lord Krishna uprooted the heavenly Parijata tree and put it on the back of Garuda. After defeating Indra and all the other demigods who opposed his taking of the tree, Krishna returned with Queen Satyabhama to Dwarka, where he planted it in a garden adjacent to Satyabhama's palace. Indra had originally come to Lord Krishna offering obeisances and begging him to kill Narakasura, but afterwards, when his business had been accomplished, he quarreled with the Lord. The demigods are prone to anger because they become intoxicated with pride in their opulence. The infallible Supreme Lord manifested himself in 16,100 separate forms and married each of the 16,100 brides in a different temple. Try that one. He took up the required activities of household life just like an ordinary person. Well, except that he had 16,000 of them, accepting various kinds of service from each of his many wives. Text 1. King Parikshit said, "How was Bhaumasura, who kidnapped so many women, killed by the Supreme Lord? Please narrate the adventure of Lord Shangadanwas." So Bhaumasura is Narakasura, the son of Bhumi. So Bhaumasura and Narakasura are the same person. Sometimes I get them, I think they're two, but they're one. Okay. 2 and 3. Shukadev Goswami said, after Bhoma had stolen the earrings belonging to Indra's mother, along with Varuna's umbrella and the demigod's playground at the peak of Mandara mountain. Indra went to Lord Krishna and informed him of these misdeeds. The Lord, taking his wife Satyabhama with him, then rode on Garuda to Pragyotishpura, which was surrounded on all sides by fortifications consisting of hills, unmanned weapons, water, fire, and wind, and by obstructions of Mura Pasha wire. Purport. The Acharyas have explained in various plausible ways why Lord Krishna took his wife Satyabhama with him. Srila Sridhar Swami begins by saying that the Lord wanted to give his adventurous wife a novel experience and thus took her to the scene of this extraordinary battle. Also, Lord Krishna had once granted the blessing to Bhumi, the earth goddess, that he would not kill her demoniac son without her permission. Since Bhumi is an expansion of Satyabhama, the latter could authorize Krishna to do the needful with the unusually nasty Bhaumasura. Finally, Satyabhama had been miffed when Narada Muni brought a celestial Parijata flower to Queen Rukmini. Oh, it's Narada Muni who brought it. That's nice. I forgot that detail. To pacify Satyabhama, Lord Krishna had promised her, I'll give you a whole tree of these flowers. And thus the Lord scheduled this procurement of a heavenly tree within his itinerary. Even nowadays, devoted husbands take their wives shopping. And thus Lord Krishna took Satyabhama to the heavenly planets to get a heavenly tree, as well as to retrieve the goods Bhaumasura had stolen and return them to their rightful owners. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti notes that in the heat of battle, Queen Satyabhama would naturally become anxious for Lord Krishna's safety and pray for the battle to end. Thus she would readily give permission to Krishna to kill the son of her expansion, Bhumi. Text 4. With his club, the Lord broke through the rock fortifications. With his arrows, the weapon fortifications. With his disc, the fire, water, and wind fortifications. And with his sword, the Mura Pasha cables. Something like barbed wire or something like that. 5. With the sound of his conch shell, Lord Gadadhara then shattered the magic seals of the fortress, along with the hearts of its brave defenders, and with his heavy club he demolished the surrounding earthen ramparts. Text 6. The 5-headed demon Mura, who slept at the bottom of the city's moat, awoke and rose up out of the water when he heard the vibration of Lord Krishna's Panchajanya conch shell, a sound as terrifying as the thunder at the end of the cosmic age. 7. Shining with the blinding, terrible effulgence of the sun's fire at the end of the millennium, Mura seemed to be swallowing up the 3 worlds with his 5 mouths. He lifted up his trident and fell upon Garuda, the son of Tarksha, like an attacking snake. Text 8. Mura whirled his trident and then hurled it fiercely at Garuda, roaring from all 5 mouths. The sound filled the earth and sky, all directions, and the limits of outer space, until it reverberated against the very shell of the universe. 9. When the 2 arrows, Lord Hari, with 2 arrows, Lord Hari struck the trident flying toward Garuda and broke it into 3 pieces. Next, the Lord hit Mura's faces with several arrows, and the demon angrily hurled his club at the Lord. As Mura's club sped toward him on the battlefield, Lord Gadagraja intercepted it with his own and broke it into thousands of pieces. Mura then raised his arms high and rushed at the unconquerable Lord, who easily sliced off his heads with his disc weapon. He makes it sound easy. Lifeless, Mura's decapitated body fell into the water like a mountain whose peak has been severed by the power of Lord Indra's thunderbolt. The demon's 7 sons, enraged by their father's death, prepared to retaliate. 12. Ordered by Bhaumasura, Mura's 7 sons, Tamra, Antariksha, Shravana, Vibhavasu, Vasu, Nabasvan, and Aruna, followed their general Pita onto the battlefield, bearing their weapons. 13. These fierce warriors furiously attacked invincible Lord Krishna with arrows, swords, clubs, spears, lances, and tridents. But the Supreme Lord, with unfailing prowess, cut this mountain of weapons into tiny pieces with his arrows. 14. The Lord severed the heads, thighs, arms, legs, and armor of these opponents, led by Pita, and sent them all to the abode of Yamaraj. Narakasura, the son of the earth, could not contain his fury when he saw the fate of his military leaders. Thus he went out of the citadel with elephants born from the milk ocean, who were exuding mudda from their temples out of excitement. 15. Lord Krishna and his wife, mounted upon Garuda, looked like a cloud with lightning sitting above the sun. Seeing the Lord, Boma released his Shatagni weapon at him, whereupon all of Boma's soldiers simultaneously attacked with their weapons. 16. At that moment, Lord Gadagraja shot his sharp arrows at Bhaumasura's army. These arrows, displaying variegated feathers, soon reduced that army to a mass of bodies with severed arms, thighs, and necks. The Lord similarly killed the opposing horses and elephants. 17 to 19. Lord Hari then struck down all the missiles and weapons the enemy soldiers threw at him, O hero of the Kurus, destroying each and every one with the 3 sharp arrows. Meanwhile, Garuda, as he carried the Lord, struck the enemy's elephants with his wings. Beaten by Garuda's wings, beak, and talons, the elephants fled back into the city, leaving Narakasura alone on the battlefield to oppose Krishna. 20. Seeing his army driven back and tormented by Garuda, Boma attacked him with his spear, which had once defeated Lord Indra's thunderbolt. But though struck by that mighty weapon, Garuda was not shaken. Indeed, he was like an elephant hit with a flower garland. 21. Boma, frustrated in all his attempts, took up his trident to kill Lord Krishna. But even though he could release it, but even before he could release it, the Lord cut off his head with his razor-sharp chakra as the demon sat atop his elephant. Purport. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti, as Boma raised his invincible trident, Satyabhama, sitting on Garuda with the Lord, said to Krishna, "Kill him right away." And Krishna did just that. So she was there for a reason. 22. Fallen on the ground, Bhaumasura's head shone brilliantly, decorated as it was with earrings and an attractive helmet. As cries of "Alas, alas," and "Well done" arose, the sages and principal demigods worshipped Lord Mukunda by showering him with flower garlands. Text 23. The goddess of earth then approached Lord Krishna and presented him with the deity's earrings, which were made of glowing gold inlaid with shining jewels. She also gave him a Vaijayanti flower garland, Varuna's umbrella, and the peak of Mandara mountain. 24. O king, after bowing down to him and then standing with joined palms, the goddess, her mind filled with devotion, began to praise the Lord of the universe, whom the best of demigods worship. 25. Goddess Bhumi said, Obeisance unto you, O Lord of the chief demigods, O holder of the conch shell, disc and club, O supreme soul within the heart, you assume your various forms to fulfill your devotees' desires. Obeisances unto you. 26. My respectful obeisances are unto you, O Lord, whose abdomen is marked with a depression like a lotus flower, who are always decorated with garlands of lotus flowers, whose glance is as cool as the lotus, and whose feet are engraved with lotuses. Purport. Queen Kunti offered this same prayer, which is found in the first canto of the Srimad-Bhagavatam, chapter 8, text 22. The synonyms and translation given here are taken from Srila Prabhupada's rendering of that verse. We may also note that although Kunti's prayer occurs in the Bhagavatam, she offered it many years after the incident described here. Text 27. Obeisances unto you, the Supreme Lord Vasudeva, Vishnu, the primeval person, the original seed. Obeisances unto you, the omniscient one. Text 28. Obeisances unto you of unlimited energies, the unborn progenitor of this universe, the Absolute. O soul of the high and the low, O soul of the created elements, O all-pervading Supreme Soul, obeisances unto you. Text 29. Desiring to create, O unborn Master, you increase and then assume the mode of passion. You do likewise with the mode of ignorance when you wish to annihilate the universe, and with goodness when you wish to maintain it. Nonetheless, you remain uncovered by these modes. You are time, the Pradhan, and the Purusha, O Lord of the universe. Yet still you are separate and distinct. Purport. The word Jagata in the third line of this verse indicates that the functions of creation, maintenance, and annihilation are here mentioned in a cosmic context. The word Udkatam indicates that when a particular function is being carried out, whether universal creation, maintenance, or annihilation, the particular material quality associated with that function becomes predominant. Text 30. This is illusion that earth, water, fire, air, ether, sense objects, demigods, mind, the senses, false ego, and the total material energy exist independent of you. In fact, they are all within you, my Lord, who are one without a second. Purport. The earth goddess in her prayers directly touches upon the subtleties of transcendental philosophy, clarifying that although the Supreme Lord is unique and distinct from His creation has no independent existence and always rests within Him. Thus the Lord and His creation are simultaneously one and different, as explained by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu 500 years ago. To say that everything is God without distinction is meaningless, since nothing can act like God. Dogs, shoes, and human beings are hardly omnipotent or omniscient, nor do they create the universe. On the other hand, there is a real sense in which all things are one, for everything is part of the same supreme absolute reality. Lord Chaitanya has given the very useful analogy of the sun and the sun rays. The sun and its sunshine are one reality, for the sun is the celestial body that shines. On the other hand, one can certainly distinguish between the sun globe and the sun rays. Thus God's simultaneous oneness with and difference from His creation is the final and satisfying explanation of reality. All that exists is the Lord's potency, and yet He endows the superior potency, the living beings, with free will so that they can become responsible for the moral and spiritual quality of their decisions and activities. This entire transcendental science is clearly and rationally explained in the Srimad-Bhagavatam. Text 31. Here is the son of Bhaumasura, frightened. Here is the son of Bhaumasura. Frightened, he is approaching your lotus feet. Since you removed the distress of all who seek refuge in you, please protect him. Place your lotus hand, which dispels all sins, upon his head. Purport. Here the earth goddess seeks protection for her grandson, who has been frightened by all the terrible violent offense that just took place. 32. Shukadeva Goswami said, thus entreated by Goddess Bhumi, in words of humble devotion, the Supreme Lord bestowed fearlessness upon her grandson and then entered Bhaumasura's palace, which was filled with all manner of riches. Text 33. There, Lord Krishna saw 16,000 royal maidens, whom Bhoma had taken by force from various kings. Purport. Srila Sridhar Swami provides evidence from the sage Parashara, as quoted in the Vishnu Purana 5:29-31, to the effect that there were actually 16,100 royal maidens imprisoned in Bhoma's palace. Kanya Pure Kanya Nam Shodesha Tulya Vikramaha Shita Dikani Dadrishe Sahasrani Mahamate. Within the maiden's quarters, O wise one, the Lord of unequaled prowess found 16,100 princesses. Another relevant verse from the Vishnu Purana 5:29-9 is as follows: Deva Siddhasuradinam Nipanam Janardana Hitva Ritva Hiso Surakanya Ruroda Nijamandire. The demon Bhaumasura kidnapped the unmarried daughters of demigods, siddhas, asuras, and kings, O Janardhan, and imprisoned them in his palace. 34. The women became enchanted when they saw that most excellent of males enter. In their minds, they each accepted him who had been brought there by destiny as their chosen husband. 35. With the thought, may Providence grant that this man become my husband. Each and every princess absorbed her heart in contemplation on Krishna. 36. The Lord had the princesses arrayed in clean, spotless garments, and then sent them in palanquins to Dwarka, along with great treasures of chariots, horses, and other vehicles, valuables. Text 37. Lord Krishna then also dispatched 64 swift white elephants, descendants of Airavata, who each sported 4 tusks. 38 and 39. The Lord then went to the abode of Indra, the demigod's king, and gave Mother Aditi her earrings. There Indra and his wife worshipped Krishna and his beloved consort, Satyabhama. Then, at Satyabhama's behest, the Lord uprooted the heavenly Parijata tree and put it on the back of Garuda. After defeating Indra and all the other demigods, Krishna brought the Parijata to his capital. Text 40. Once planted, the Parijata tree beautified the garden of Queen Satyabhama's palace. Bees followed the tree, all the way from heaven, greedy for its fragrance and sweet sap. Text 41. Even after Indra had bowed down to Lord Achyuta, touched his feet with the tips of his crown, and begged the Lord to fulfill his desire, that exalted demigod, having achieved his purpose, chose to fight with the Supreme Lord. What ignorance there is among the demigods! To hell with their opulence. Purport. It is well known that material wealth and power tend to produce arrogance, and thus an opulent life can often be the royal road to hell. Text 42. Then the imperishable Supreme Personality, assuming a separate form for each bride, duly married all the princesses simultaneously, each in her own palace. Try to visualize that for a second. Yes. Purport. As Srila Sridhar Swami explains, here the word yata indicates that each marriage was duly performed. This means that the entire company of the Lord's relatives, including his mother Devaki, appeared in each and every palace and attended each and every wedding. Wow. Since all these weddings took place simultaneously, this event was surely a manifestation of the Lord's inconceivable potency. When Lord Krishna does things, he does them in style. So it is not astonishing that the Lord simultaneously appeared in 16,100 wedding ceremonies taking place in 16,100 royal palaces, accompanied in each palace by all his relatives. Indeed, this is the way one would expect the Supreme Personality of Godhead to do things. The difference between a devotee and a non-devotee's perception. After all, he is not an ordinary human being. Srila Sridhar Swami further explains that on this particular occasion, the Lord manifested his original form in each of his palaces. Original form. In other words, to take part in the wedding vows, he manifested identical forms, Prakash, in all the palaces. Jiva Goswami speaks in his Sandarbhas that unless one actually accepts, and by these words mean something, actually accepts the inconceivable nature, achintya, unless one actually accepts that Krishna is achintya, then these things just become stories. But if one actually accepts that he's inconceivable and can do anything, then it blossoms and causes the spiritual realization and taste and happiness and wonder just explode inside the heart. Text 43. The Lord, performer of the inconceivable, constantly remained in each of his queen's palaces. The Lord, performer of the inconceivable, constantly remained in each of his queen's palaces, which were unequaled and unexcelled by any other residence. There, although fully satisfied within himself, he enjoyed with his pleasing wives, and like an ordinary husband, he carried out his household duties. Purport. The word atarka krit is significant here. Tarka means logic, and atarka means that which is beyond logic. The Lord can perform krit, that which is beyond mundane logic, and hence inconceivable. Still, the Lord's activities can be appreciated and understood to a significant extent by those who surrender unto Him. This is the secret of bhakti, loving devotion to the Supreme Lord. Srila Sridhar Swami comments that the Lord was always at home except for when he had to go out to do ordinary household duties. And Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti points out that since in the Vaikuntha planets, Lord Narayana enjoys with only one goddess of fortune, and in Dwarka, Krishna enjoys with thousands of queens, Dwarka must be considered superior to Vaikuntha. In this regard, Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti also quotes the following passage from the Skanda Purana. This is a little long. Anyway, Shodashaiva Sahasrani Gopyas Taura Samagataha Hangsa Eva Mata Krishna Paramatma Janardanaha Tasyai Tak Shaktayo Devi Shodashaiva Prakirtitaha Chandarupi Mata Krishna Kalarupas Tutak Smritaha Sampurna Bandala Tasam Malani Shodashi Kala Shodashaiva Kala Yasu Gopi Rupa Barangane Ekai Kadash Ekai Kashash Tak Sambina Sahasrena Pritak Pritak. At that place, 16,000 gopis were assembled with Krishna, who is considered the supreme, the super soul, the shelter of all living beings. These gopis are his renowned 16 potencies, O goddess. Krishna is like the moon. The gopis are like its phases, and the full contingent of gopis is like the full sequence of the moon's 16 phases. Each of these 16 divisions of gopis by dear Varangana is subdivided into 1,000 parts. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti further quotes the Kartik Mahatmya section of the Padma Purana. Kaishore Gopakanyasta Yovane Rajakanyakaha. Those who were the daughters of cowherds in their early youth became royal princesses in their maturity. The Acharya adds, therefore, just as the Lord of Dwarka is a plenary expansion of the supremely complete Lord of Sri Vrindavan, so his principal queens are full expansions of his supremely complete pleasure potencies, the gopis. This is confirming Rupa Goswami's Lalita Madhava. Text 44. Thus those women obtained as their husband the goddess of fortune. Although even great demigods like Brahma do not know how to approach him, with ever-increasing pleasure they experienced loving attraction for him, exchanged smiling glances with him, and reciprocated with him in ever-fresh intimacy, replete with joking and feminine shyness. Text 45. Although the Supreme Lord's queens each had hundreds of maidservants, they chose to personally serve the Lord by approaching him humbly, offering him a seat, worshipping him with excellent paraphernalia, bathing and massaging his feet, giving him pan to chew, fanning him, anointing him with fragrant sandalwood paste, adorning him with flower garlands, dressing his hair, arranging his bed, bathing him, and presenting him with various gifts. Thus end the purports of the humble servants of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, to the 10th canto, 59th chapter of Srimad-Bhagavatam, entitled The Killing of Demon Naraka. Haribol! Jai Shri Krishna. Satyabhama ki jai. Oh, Premanandi. Hari Haribol. Okay, I have another appointment tonight at 7:30. It is just about 7, getting there. So let us have our reflections and discussions, and then let me do my last, appointment about my computer and get it all squared away so I don't have to think about it anymore. Better not to think about those things. Okay. Shamagori is going to start it off.
I just would like to know how the goddess of earth had a demon son.
Yes, I'll explain. When Varahadev picked the earth up, she appeared as a human form, and they had relations.
Still, why is he a demon?
That's a good question. It happened by association. Now, I was under the illusion for many years that Naraka and Boma were two different, and that Boma got influenced by Naraka, but that illusion was dispelled. And I don't actually have any other answer except a statement to the effect that Narakasura was in the association of a bigger demon than him. And by association, he changed. And that's why Krishna had to take Satyabhama with him. Because she had to give the permission for him to be killed. Because she's an expansion of Mother Earth. Or Mother Earth's expansion, her rather.
Yeah. Yeah, I just thought because we knew that the earth is kind of Lord Vishnu's, Lord Narayan's consort, isn't it?
Energy, one of his energies. Yeah.
So how is that possible?
Expansion of goddess of fortune. Yeah.
But yeah, association can explain that.
But it's interesting because I often think about this subject, especially before when I was staying in Govardhan a lot and I used to read these literatures. And the Lalita Madhava by Rupa Goswami makes this point about how the gopis became queens later on, wives of queens. And then I actually wondered, so that's the same person? How's that possible? But then, when I was reading the story about how Krishna is taken out by Akrura out of Vrindavan, and how they stopped by that, the Akrura Ghat in the Yamuna, and Akrura saw Krishna and Balaram, and then he saw Vishnu and Sheshanaga carrying him in the water. And our acharyas comment that that's the place, or around that area, where Krishna expanded into Vasudeva and went out to Mathura. So it's in that sense, it's the gopis, but it's expansion of the gopis. And the real gopis never leave Vrindavan. Just like Krishna, his original form never leaves Vrindavan. That's the explanation. But yes, that point about, Naraka and Boma and how that all happened, and how, son of Krishna became Dvaniak. I mean, you know, let's face it, there are different. Advaitacharya's sons had 6 sons. 3 went one way and 3 went the other way. You know, 3 became pure Vaishnavas and the other 3 became Mayavadis, you know. So, I mean, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur commented that it's because, well, it's different. In each case it's different, but in general the principle is that in some cases it's to exhibit renunciation by the great soul, that the parents, the family are less important than their devotion to the Lord. Mm-hmm. And in other cases it's because it wants to show that no matter who you are, unless you actually follow the spiritual principles, you can be deviated, no matter who you are. Mm-hmm. To give a lesson that, you know, when we're in this material world, we should be very, very careful. Mm-hmm. That's another reason. And another reason, in some cases, is that the Lord doesn't want His pure devotees or His own descendants to become overpowerful and therefore become another burden of the earth. Mm-hmm. That happened in the case of the Moshala Lila. One of the reasons why Krishna, you know, took away the Yadu dynasty all at one time practically, was because he thought that they would become a bigger burden than the demons. Because first of all, they were very, very powerful, inconceivably powerful. Nobody could defeat them. And then Krishna thought, if I go, what happens if they decide, you know, just for power, they can wreak havoc on the earth. Mm-hmm. He thought like that. Therefore, he brought him with him. And the other reason is because he wanted them to go with him back to the spiritual world. Anyway, all these things are true, and how they can be true simultaneously in ways that they appear to be contradictory, that's Krishna's inconceivable potency. There's no other way to explain it. Mm. And I know materialists will say, oh yes, it's circular reasoning. You know, they're like that because Krishna said and this and that, the other thing. But it's true.
Yeah, I guess he I don't know, I'm just kind of thinking that he also does these extreme things like marrying 16,000 wives so that he would give reason to those who want to reject him to say like, that's impossible, nobody can do that, you know. Just yes. Another reason that they can... Yeah.
Definitely. Sometimes he does things like, for instance, when he got shot in the foot with that arrow, mm-hmm. Remember?
Yes.
The princes, they were making fun of the sages, the great sages. We don't know exactly who it was. Some people say it was Narada. Some people say he was there, but I haven't heard it in a verse. I haven't seen it in a verse exactly who it was. But they were definitely Brahmins and sages that were there in Dwarka. And Krishna's sons, among others, went there and teased them. And they put a piece of metal, you know, and made one of them look pregnant. And they came and said, "Oh, great sage, please tell us, is it going to be a boy or a girl?" Or, you know, and they saw right through it, of course. They said, "You rascals, it's going to be a lump of metal that's going to be the destruction of your whole dynasty." So they panicked. They went to Ugrasena. "This happened. We're sorry, but this is what the sages said." Then Ugrasena, he had the thing filed down just into dust, and had the dust, took it to the shore of the ocean at Prabhas, Chetra, and just sprinkled it there, thinking, "Wow, that's finished." And there was a little piece left. a little piece left. And that piece was taken by the hunter and made into an arrowhead. And that was that arrowhead that touched Krishna's foot. So, externally it appeared that he died from that arrowhead, thing to the foot, but it completely contradicts everything else he did in his whole appearance. So the actual authorities say that that's not possible. So he just made, it was like a theater, a drama, so that the atheist could say, oh, just see, he was actually an ordinary person after all, even though he did all those things. It's kind of like Drasenda, getting defeated by 17 times and still going an 18th time. And then when Krishna decided he was just going to run away, with Kalyanama and all that, then Drasenda could think, yes, I defeated Krishna.
I mean, in a way, to die because an arrow struck your foot is in itself extraordinary because it's not lethal.
Won't happen to anybody. What does big Krishna? Yeah, exactly.
So he just decided, just leave.
Yeah,
now.
it's time to go.
Yeah, but it's not because of the arrow, because even a normal-bodied person wouldn't die.
There was a story, and I don't remember it right offhand. Maybe you know. There was a story about that person, because the hunter came to him and begged forgiveness.
No, I don't think.
There's a story about this. I'm sorry, I don't want to say it's a story that's not correct, absolutely correct. So I'll save it for a later time. I'll try to look it up or ask somebody, see if I can't find the detail. But there is a story in the Puranas about that. What happened? What was the benediction that Krishna gave that hunter? I don't remember it. Is that right offhand? Okay, Bhakti Seb, take it away.
So that was my two biggest questions already perfectly answered. I'll just see what I've got left in my notes. So I guess one small technical question. So is this pastime like the single event where Krishna acquired the majority of his 16,000 wives?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Because I'd obviously heard that he had 16,000 wives quite a few times before, but I didn't know how they came about.
There were 8 principal queens, and we already heard about them. We've heard 5, 6 of them so far, but we'll hear later on about the others.
Okay. Thank you.
8 principal queens, and then the 16,100. Those are which exactly match the number of the actual principal gopis, the most intimate gopis.
So, okay, so there are expansions of the gopis.
Yes.
So you say earlier, didn't you?
Yes.
Okay, that's really nice to know. Thank you.
And Satyabhama is an expansion of Radharani, and Rukmini is an expansion of Chandravali. Although it's interesting that in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, when Gadadhar Pandit, who was also considered to be an incarnation of Radharani, was staying in Puri, and there was that pastime of Balabhacharya, and how Balabhacharya was too proud, and he wrote a commentary of Srimad-Bhagavatam, and he wanted Lord Chaitanya to hear it, because he wanted the reputation, to have Lord Chaitanya approve of his commentary. And but Lord Chaitanya just kind of neglected him. He didn't hear it, didn't want to hear it, didn't acknowledge it, anything. And he became very despondent, and he kept trying coming back, and each time he would make different arguments, and sometimes he would argue with the other devotees to try to minimize them or minimize their process, the Harinam. So he was proud, even though he was a devotee of Lord Chaitanya. He met with Lord Chaitanya across the river, across the Ganges from Benares when Rupa Goswami went to see him and become enlightened. That's the 19th chapter of the Chaitanya Madhya Lila, Chaitanya Charitamrita. And he worshipped the Lord, but the Lord wasn't fully comfortable with him. Even then, I remember in the Chaitanya Charitamrita it's described that when Rupa Goswami came with him, and Vallabhacharya was a very highly elevated Brahmana in the community, and everybody, worshipped him, and he was in his own right a, leader, a spiritual leader. And when he went to serve Rupa Goswami, when he saw who he was, then Rupa Goswami went running away and said, "Don't touch me, I'm untouchable, and I'm this and I'm that," And then Lord Chaitanya looked at Vallabha and he said, "Don't touch him. He's from a lower position." So, because he knew that Vallabha was proud and he needed maybe that kind of encouragement. But anyway, later on in Puri, he was trying it with Dvaitacharya, he was trying with Lord Nityananda, he was trying directly with Surup Damodar even. And finally, because Gadadhar Pandit had a reputation for being very mellow and very easily pleased and not very critical. And in that purport to describe that nature, his nature, it's described that he was acting like the goddess of fortune. Now it's not clear exactly what that meant, and there's other places in Rupa Goswami says that in the Lalita Madhava that he was Radharani, but in this part of the Chaitanya Charitamrita it said that he was, or rather Chandravali, but who is the mild-mannered. That would make sense if it was Rukmini, because Rukmini was Chandravali, and in that place in Chaitanya Charitamrita it says that he was an incarnation of Rukmini, not Chandravali. So it's like, it all fits together. It's the mood. Satyabhama was like hot-tempered and, like Radharani, she was like Radharani, and Rukmini was like Chandravali. So Rukmini to Gadadhar Pandit, Still, they all come from Radharani, so you can make that case also. They all come from Radharani. They're like different forms that appear or that are eternally present as Radharani moods. So that Radharani can give pleasure to Krishna in unlimited different ways, in different moods, for his pleasure, supreme enjoyer. Anyway, that's a little background information.
Just got one more, maybe slight technical question. If that's okay.
Sure. Any question?
Okay. So.
Well, within my capacity to answer.
So I was just wondering about, because obviously during the Battle of Kurukshetra, it's quite well known that Krishna had sort of renounced killing kind of demons, and he killed a lot of demons in the past. But he wasn't doing any killing in the Battle of Kurukshetra, as far as I know. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, the reason was that when the situation had come to a head between the Kurus and the Pandavas, Duryodhana and Yudhishthira went to Krishna, and let me see if I get this right. Krishna had kind of made a promise, or just a thought that whoever I see first, I'll, go with that person, or I'll give that person the choice of what they want. So Duryodhana came to the bed right close to here, and thought, Krishna will see me first, and then I can ask what I want. And then Yudhishthira, because he was humble, he stayed at the foot of the bed. Huh? Arjuna.
Yeah, Yudhishthira sent Arjuna.
Oh, Yudhishthira sent Arjuna. Yeah, that's right. Thank you for that detail. And so they were, and then when Krishna woke up, he was laying like this, and he opened his eyes, and he saw Arjuna. And then, okay, you tell the detail.
It's just, yeah.
Wait, we need to give her the, we're going to get the detail from a savant of the Mahabharata.
Arjuna was standing at his feet, and Krishna seen him first, but then Duryodhana jumped in, saying that I was here first, because he actually arrived just a little
That's right.
early.
He came there first.
Yes, he came there first. But then Krishna said, but Arjuna is younger than you, and usually the younger ones has the first choice. They sort of favored in this situation, and so still gave Arjuna the first choice.
Now, what was the choice? The choice
was that you can have my army, which was the biggest army on the earth at that time.
Most powerful and biggest.
Most powerful, with Kritavarma as the commander-in-chief. Or you can have me, but I will not fight.
That's it.
And then Arjuna chose Krishna. And then Duryodhana pretend like,
no, he was happy.
Yeah, internally he was happy.
I see.
But the interesting thing was that when he went back to Hastinapur, and he was like hitting the air, like, yes, I got the army, and he was really happy.
Yes.
And Shakuni chastised him. You're mad, You cannot win this war
without
if Krishna is on the other side. So interestingly, Shakuni was always sort of the sneaky one.
Yeah.
But even he understood that without Krishna you can't win.
Yeah. Yeah. And even, Dhritarashtra admitted also that Krishna was God, but still he was so attached to his son. Yeah. He couldn't conceive that. And then in the beginning of the battle, when Krishna started to speak to Arjuna, and Sanjay was seeing everything. He was secretary of Dhritarashtra, and it became obvious that what was happening before the battle, that there was no way that they were going to win. And this is what family attachment does. It just blinds one. One couldn't see the truth, and he just kept on being in that illusion. Yeah. And he was so much illusion that finally, even after all his sons were killed and he lost everything, but still he was being maintained in the palace of Yudhishthira, which is very, very degrading for a person who was in his position. And that's what motivated Vidura, who was the brother of Dhritarashtra, to come and preach to him. And he gave those strong preaching in the beginning of the Bhagavatam, living like a dog in the house of the person that you tried to kill, persons you tried to kill. And finally he got it, went to the forest and got perfection. Didn't get I don't remember what he got, but it wasn't, he got elevation. He got some elevation, spiritual elevation.
But still, I don't know why Krishna decided not to fight. I kind of was thinking, and this is just my thinking, that he didn't want it to be seen.
Be favorites.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Because they were on both sides. He was connected, dynasty-wise, in both sides.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's why Balaram decided that he's
That's
not going
right.
to have any part in it. Yeah.
That's right. Well, that was also because Balaram had taught Duryodhana when he went to stay in Matila. Remember, we heard that when they were after Krishna married. Was it Rukmini?
Yeah, I think it was Rukmini.
Anyway, they ended up close to Matila. Maybe it was after Rukmi. Anyway, they were close to to Matila, and then Balaram had a relationship with the king, Videha, the king of Videha, and then he decided to go. He stayed there for a few years. Amazing. Each one of them had their individual pastimes too.
Yeah.
And that's when Duryodhana came and learned the art of club fighting from Balaram. So he was his disciple in that sense. So then there was Krishna didn't want to take sides.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is that he broke his promise, to keep the promise of Bhishma, who was fighting against him, because he was such a great devotee and great soul, Mahajan.
Yeah. Wonderful stories. Histories.
Huh?
Wonderful history.
Yes, yes. Krishna's pastimes are like, unbelievable.
Yeah, just so deep.
Full of drama and moral lessons and spiritual ecstasies. And
I was thinking in regard of Indra attacking Krishna, even though he had learned the lesson in the pastime of the Govardhan Hill.
Yeah.
But still, is that the mode of goodness that does that the people become so kind of proud?
No, it's not the mode of goodness. It's a mode of passion.
Mode of passion.
Yeah, because the demigods are like kings. They're like the Kshatriyas, and the sages. They're like the Brahmanas in the higher realms. Above Swarga is Janaloka and Maharloka, Janaloka, and Tapaloka. In those places, they're all sages, and up to Janaloka, I think. It's either Janaloka or Maharloka that they're married, the sages, but not ordinary marriage. They're all celibate, but they're married and have families, but they're all strictly following, and they're all great sages. And then above them, they're all celibates, full celibates, up to Brahmaloka. So, I don't know why I got off onto that.
Because I mentioned that is the mode of goodness. But I just thought that demigods are in general would be in the mode of goodness, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Say that again.
That demigods in general.
The modes of nature are prominent in different places of the universe. As you go up, the mode of goodness becomes more prominent, and passion and ignorance become less prominent in general. But the modes are always shifting.
Right.
Therefore, it's described when providence favors. Remember, when Vishnu told the demigods, "Okay, providence now is favoring, the demons. So, make a truce, or better part of valor. Just, let them have it for now, until the providence, until the modes change." That's what it is. It's the change of the modes.
Right.
When the modes of ignorance become prominent for some reason, then the demons become powerful and they win, or temporarily. But ultimately, the demigods always end up winning because Krishna favors them.
It's an interesting thing that he knew who Krishna was. Indra knew, he already learned it.
Yeah.
Then what's the big deal that Krishna takes some plant?
Well, it's not just some plant. It's not just some plant. It's the law of nature. It's the law of the Parijata flower tree is not supposed to be in the earth.
Oh, right.
Yeah, they're not supposed to be in the earth. It's meant for the heavenly
Krishna
planet.
was breaking the law.
Yes. That's what it was.
It makes more sense now.
Yeah. You got something? Something's on the...
Yeah, something's on my... Jasmine was asking.
Jasmine, Hare Krishna. We're going to have a new PhD come to see us pretty soon.
Says, Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances.
Hare Krishna Bhakti Jasmine.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jai, glories to Prabhupada.
Please could I ask, by what means or how did Krishna and others travel to the higher planetary systems from Earth?
Well, it was in different ways. Sometimes he rode on his chariot when he took Arjuna to investigate what happened to the Brahmana's sons in Dwarka when they were leaving. As soon as they were born, they were just disappearing. And the Brahmana was really upset, and he chastised Yudhishthira and Arjuna and all. He said, nobody, even Krishna, he said, no one can solve this. In the presence of Krishna, all these people. So then it ended up being Vishnu did it, Mahavishnu, so that he could have the darshan of Krishna. But in that pastime, he went in a chariot. And then when he went with Satyabhama, they rode on Garuda. He rides on Garuda from one planet to another, from one place to another. Some of the Siddhalokas, they can go without any conveyance at all, just by mystic power, by the power of the mind. They can move where they want by mystic power, yogic power. But anyway, Krishna, we only have those stories where he went to another planet, either on Garuda or on his chariot, which is obviously not an ordinary chariot because that was given to him by the sun god. But it's his eternal chariot. Sometimes things appear to be given in the material world by someone else that are actually eternal possessions of the Lord, and it's just the way it happens in his Prakat Leela. Even though he always has his Parijata garland, and he always has his club and his conch shell and all these things, but he's given them, he gets them in the material world in different ways to conform to the laws of nature. When Krishna comes to the material world, he agrees to externally appear to be like he's following the laws of nature, and therefore he appears to get his weapons and conveyances and different things from different demigods in different ways, but they're all actually eternally his. There
was a story that somebody actually asked Krishna to give his conch shell to him. Do I remember well?
Don't remember that story.
I can't remember, but just that notion that somebody asked him for it. Or was it the chakra? I can't remember.
Oh, Pondraka.
Yeah, that's right.
Pondraka asked to give up his symbols, and and he sent a letter to Krishna, and he had a whole following that were worshipping him, hence Vishnu, and then he found out about Krishna, and then he sent a messenger to Krishna to demand that Krishna give up his symbols, and Krishna said, "Oh, okay, I'll give up my symbol. I'll give you my disc, free of charge." He didn't say that, just my joke. And then, and when finally went to the battlefield, he actually came and challenged Krishna. And Krishna looked, and he just had a really big laugh. He just laughed his head off, because Pondraka had these, kind of like, he was in an outfit, and he had extra arms stuck there, and there was obviously like like a clown character or something, or like the big guy that's in the little car that comes out of the car and everybody goes, ha, 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 It was like that. So everybody's laughing at him. And then he challenged Krishna, and then Krishna cut off his head, Yeah, I'll give you back you can have it. All right, I think I'll stop now because it's getting close to... yeah, it's almost 7:30. I have an appointment at 7:30, so I promised that I would. So anyway, thank you very much, you all. As usual, Shamagori has deep realizations and knowledge of Krishna's pastimes, and so nice to discuss with you like that. And Seb, you're exhibiting your intelligence and your inquisitiveness in a very wonderful way. We pray it fructifies more and more so that you can be instrument to help others and spread Krishna consciousness. We wish for that. Hare Krishna. All right, now we're going to move on to chapter 60, which is technically where we started, but Radharaman told me that it was not quite yet fixed until a few chapters afterwards. So I'll just keep going anyway. I'm probably going to finish the Bhagavatam again before I go back. But anyway, we'll decide. Thank you so much, everybody out there. Thank you for your questions, and we'll see you tomorrow night, same time, same place, same station here at Wisteria College. And in the meantime, have a very nice night and day. Hare Krishna. Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai, Kaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.